Hello everyone, Inferior Otaku here, and today I'm going to be bringing you standard Magic the Gathering gameplay featuring my white-black token control deck against Junk Seance, which is nothing I've ever played against before, and it's not something I've really heard about. I know that Seance has been gaining popularity lately, but I hadn't really seen it until now. It's a very interesting deck, as I'm sure you'll see. An interesting note before we start the game, the audio for the original file was messed up, so I'm going to be doing this as a voiceover afterwards. Okay, to start the game, I draw my opening hand. As you can see, no lands, Desecration Demon, Mutilate, Oblivion Ring, Lingering Souls. Nothing too no lands to play anything with. I shuffle, I take a mulligan. This time I draw the other booby prize, all lands, 6 lands, right off the top. So obviously I have to ship this one too. You can see I'm not too happy about that. So after garnering some pity from my opponent, I decide to mulligan down to 5 cards, and I eventually do get a playable hand here. I believe it's a Blood Artist, a Lingering Souls, and 3 Swamps, yeah. So I have to play this, even though there's no white source for the souls. I do take this because going down to 4 is not safe. Uh, under any circumstances, pretty much. And since I have so much mana, I figure I might as well. On the downside, I am on the play here, so I don't get to draw another card. He opens up with a Temple Garden tapped, which is not the most aggressive start in the world. I draw into a Sorin, which is fantastic, assuming I draw a white source, so I just go ahead and play my Blood Artist here. And pray to God I draw a white source next turn so I can lay my Lingering Souls and then curve out into Sorin. Let's see, what does he do here? Yeah, he plays the Woodland Cemetery and lays a Mana Dude, I believe. Oh, no, Lotleth Troll. Mana Dude's the second game. So Lotleth Troll. At this point, I think he's going Junk Reanimator because all 3 of those cards are, very good signs of Junk Reanimator. And here I get very happy. I draw into a Godless Shrine, which allows me to play into Lingering Souls to lay down some blockers for Lotleth Troll. But yeah, as I was saying, Junk Reanimator and Lotleth Troll is a pretty good indication of that too, because he can just pitch threats all day into the graveyard with Lotleth Troll's discard ability, while making him an even more dangerous threat. At this point, the spirit tokens I made are mysteriously larger than the other cards on board, and the cards on board are smaller than they're supposed to be. So I try to mess with the scale here, and this doesn't go too well originally. So I scale it back to 100 and try again. Unsuccessfully. There you go. He does play a mulch. And fetches some lands. Originally, there's a bit of controversy here because the way this emulator, I don't know what you call it, the CCG, the way it's set up, I couldn't see the lands or any of the cards he got with mulch, so I made him play them and show them to me. And I believe he got a Godless Shrine and a couple of other lands. Not too informative, I guess. We'll see in a minute. I'm telling him that they weren't revealed to me. As for board position, I'm in a pretty good spot right now. I have the souls to deal with his Lotleth Troll, forcing him into either regenerate or discard. And I can always flash them back if the troll becomes too big of a threat. Yeah, here we can see Godless Shrine, Overgrown Tomb, and Sun Petal Grove from him were what he fetched with mulch. So now that's resolved. Mulch is going to go away. He swings in with the troll here. I believe he discards another Lotleth Troll, which, I don't know his hand, but this, I think, could have been a misplay, because Lotleth Troll is a very significant threat. So yeah, he discards the troll to feed his troll, making it a 3-2 with trample. But I say, 2 spirits for 1 troll, that's a fine trade. I figured out in retrospect this might have been a poor move on my part because he could have just ditched another creature to make the troll too big to block and made me lose out horribly in this trade. But I figured with Blood Artist procs I really couldn't lose since stuff would be dying. I'd gain back whatever he dealt to me and he'd lose some life from attacking in, plus I could always flash back the souls. As it turns out, he does not pitch another card to the troll. Which I think is questionable because I know he has cards in hand that he could have pitched to the troll. But I mean, I guess he didn't have any way to bring them back at this point. Maybe he didn't reliably get Seance. Anyway, we work out Blood Artist triggers here. Um, it turns out that when I was messing with my life total due to shocking myself with Godless Shrine and taking one from Trample from Lot Troll, I actually used his life total, which is something unique to this CCG, which was a mistake on my part. So instead of cheating, I went ahead and corrected that. But then it turns out that we swapped life totals. He was down to 17, and I was back up to 20 because Artist triggers killed 3 creatures. So he took 3 and lost a creature, a prominent threat from that engage, and I ended up with the same board position I had 2 turns ago, and was back up to 20 from the 18 where I'd been before. So really, I think this was a loss for him, especially since he discarded another lot left troll to get to that point. So yeah, the more I think about it, the more I think that was a misplay from his part. Although I really don't know how Junk Seance works. Maybe I don't know what he had in his hand, but that doesn't concern me too much because I'm able to play Soren here, and Soren really locks down the board if you let him get out of control. And since this guy has no threats out, and since Junk is not known for haste creatures besides maybe Strangleroot Geist, this doesn't look like a Strangleroot Geisty type of deck. And even a Strangleroot Geist wouldn't be able to profitably get through a vampire and damage Soren. So yeah, I'm in a really good position right here. I can just start populating the board with my vampires, and eventually either flashback my souls or draw into something interesting that I can play. Here I check his graveyard, 2 trolls and a mulch, and go back to my hand. He's doing something. He's thinking. I think this is where he plays his... Spoiler alert. I think this is where he plays his Tristani. Yeah, here it comes. Yeah, Tristani. Which is a pretty brutal card. What I don't get is that when I was playing against this deck, the only token production I saw in this deck was Thragtusk. There were no other populate mechanics, no nothing. I draw into a plains here, which isn't the most helpful thing in the world. But my vampires ensure I don't have to worry about that too much. I just populate and pass back because I have a much better way of accruing board advantage as I see it right now. But yeah, anyway, this deck, Tristani's passive can help when he's bringing creatures back with Seance. But other than that, I really don't think that Tristani was... Just her activated ability is just not useful in a deck that doesn't run any token production besides Thragtusk's dying. So I don't know if she's a must-have in this deck. But I do see her in both the games I play against this guy. So maybe he runs her more often than he should. Who knows? He lays an Overgrown Tomb tapped, and he thinks about it. I think he plays Seance here. Here I'm messing with the scale again. The video is just going absolutely nuts because this game doesn't like to be messed with. But I think I've got it to where you can actually see all the cards on board. And here you can see Seance. Seance is a really weird card. It works kind of like Havengoal Lich, only in Junk rather than in Bug, I guess. At the beginning of each upkeep, you may exile a creature card from your graveyard. If you do, you may put a token onto the battlefield of that card, only it's a copy. So yeah, you put a copy of the card on the battlefield, and then you exile it at the beginning of your next end step, which means that you can do it on your opponent's upkeep and then keep a creature until your next end step, which is really good. While I've been blathering on about Seance, I draw into a game changer, Vault of the Archangel, which I can use to give my threats Death Touch. So I swing in with my vampires, and this guy, in a period of questionable judgment, blocks my vampire. So I decide to, go ahead and not look a gift horse in the mouse and give it Death Touch with Vault of the Archangel. I don't think he realized that I could do that, but he's a good sport about it. Because of what he did with his Tristani, he sort of like moved her around and then moved her back to where she was. I had to ask if he'd actually blocked with it, which he did. So we work it out. I give it Death Tough, I say, and then correct myself because Death Tough is not actually a keyword. And he's a good sport about it and kills off his Tristani. I lose a vampire, but that's okay. Blood Artist makes it a win-win, and his legendary creature is gone. It's always nice to get rid of a legendary creature, I think. Maybe like Tuk the Returned, maybe not him, but who knows. So yeah, we're just working out Blood Artist procs. I get in for one. I gain, you know, this deck right now is set to gain me a whole lot of life. I mean, you'd think that his Tristani would gain him life. No way. This deck is actually beating a deck in terms of life gain that's playing Tristanis and Thragtusks. And you'll see the ending of this game is actually hilarious from my point of view because I'll spoil it. He lays down 2 Thragtusks in one turn with a Tristani on board. Uh, and then that's all I'm going to say about it until the end actually happens. Um, I proceed to make another blocker with Soren, and I pass turn back to him for now. Now I'm in an even better position than I was because I got rid of his Tristani. His Seance will still uh, make a little havoc, but not too much. I forget what he plays here. I think he, oh, that's right. He Seances his Tristani and plays another, no, he plays a Thragtusk. He Seances Tristani and plays a Thragtusk. Which is great for him because that's 8 life straight up, which is phenomenal. So yeah, he goes up to 21, and now he has 2 beaters on board. Unfortunately, Tristani does go away during his end step. I just realized that his Tristani should have gone away during his end step. He just brought her back. Whatever. It really doesn't affect the game too much. This guy has been misplaying his Tristani. Um, I guess. First he blocks a Death Touch creature with it, or a creature that could have Death Touch, and then now he's not bringing her off the battlefield because of Seance. Because, correct me if I'm wrong, dear listener, he just seanced her back from the graveyard during his upkeep, and then it says exile her during your next end step. I believe that is the wording of the card. I'll look it up afterwards and post it in the description. So I believe that Tristani should have been exiled. Anyway, I swing in with my dudes. He does not make the same mistake again. He does not block with anything. The only reason I swung in here, the only reason I brought Soren up here is because I didn't want to kill him when I ulted. I figured that I might ult this next turn because, you know, Thragtusk and Tristani, 2 nice threats to take. I thought, you know, if I could produce green mana, Tristani would be a good target for me to use Soren's ultimate on, because then I could use her ability to populate things, but I can't produce greens. That's a moot point. Anyway, past turn, he seances his Lotleth Troll. And his board's looking, you know, a little bit scarier right now. His Tristani should be gone. Yeah, I actually tell him, exile Tristani. And, I mean, this could be me not understanding the rules of the game. Actually, here's Seance right now. If you do, put a token on the battlefield at the beginning of the next end step. Oh, it's not even your next end step. It's the next end step. So this guy is just... He took me for a ride. His Tristani should have been gone forever ago. So, yeah, I did not realize that. So misplays after misplays from this guy. He Disciple of Bolas is his Tristani for a whopping 2 life, and let's see. Well, I think he does pass turn here because he doesn't want to swing into a token that has Death Touch. He plays Arbor Elf and passes turn. That's right. Now this might be this upcoming play might be another big misplay from him. Oh, no, he does swing in, and I decide to take 7. In retrospect, the play here is to block his Lotleth Troll with my Vampire to force the Regenerate. Because after I force the Regenerate on his Troll, that leaves him with no black mana open. Oh, that's not true. He could potentially Arbor Elf his Overgrown Tomb to give him black mana next turn, so that when I Soren ultimate, he can regenerate his Lotleth Troll to prevent it from being destroyed and sent to the graveyard, which means it won't come over to my side when Soren's ultimate resolves. But he doesn't do any of that. I'd take 7, and next turn I am able to successfully jack his entire board. So yeah, I take 7, leaving me sitting at 19 health, which is, you know, fine. Especially with lifelink tokens on board. And knowing that I can steal a Thragtusk next turn, which is, you know, every man's dream when you're playing in Standard. Taking Thragtusk is excellent. So as we know from Seance, Lotleth Troll shouldn't even be there because it says exile it at the next end step. So at least that's what the text in this game says. Maybe the Oracle text is different. Maybe they messed it up. I don't know. Anyway, Lawless Troll should be gone, but it's not. And so I ult Soren. I take all of his threats, which is pretty brutal. So not only does my recapturing of his Disciple of Bolas, his Lotleth Troll, and his Thragtusk allow me to proc Blood Artist 3 times, I also gain 5 life when Thragtusk hits, and then I also target Thragtusk with Disciple of Bolas, meaning that I gain 10 life total, and then draw 5 cards, completely making up for the fact that I mulligan down to 5. I've been playing on one card hands from since like a while ago, but this totally fixes that. Drawing 5 cards is a way of really fixing your life when you're playing Magic, unless you're decking yourself, of course. So anyway, I take control of his stuff. Lotleth Troll shouldn't really be there. And also, another thing I've just realized upon doing this second commentary is that he should have a Thragtusk token on board, which he does not. Because when I destroy the Thragtusk and it leaves the battlefield, he should have made himself a token, which he did not. So this guy, I mean, I guess it's my fault because I didn't tell him. I mean, but in the new rulings, players are not required to remind their opponents of triggers, I think. I think this falls under that jurisdiction. I don't have to remind him about it. In any case, I just plain forgot because of my giddy happiness at being able to steal a Thragtusk from him. And he forgets. I do not know why. I think he should. He did tell me at the end of this video that he was just playing this deck, playtesting it, so he doesn't really know it too well. But I don't know. You'd notice if you got a 3/3 power, 3/3 creature. I do not forget when I kill his Thragtusk with now my Disciple of Bolas. I make myself a token, which helps me bring the beats. And then I refill my hand fantastically. And I even draw an Oblivion Ring to deal with his Seance, so he can't pull any more of his shenanigans with incorrect Oracle text or whatever that Seance is doing for him. I believe I play that right off the bat here. This is me tapping mana for an Oblivion Ring. I can see it. Here we go. There we go. Oblivion Ring. Get rid of Seance. Now I have an incredibly commanding board position. He does take away the Lotleth Troll eventually due to his convoluted reading of the card. But that still leaves me with like an absurd amount of power on board compared to him. And I've taken away his means of getting 2-for-1s out of the cards in his graveyard with Seance. Because I've O-ringed it, which is fantastic. And then, just in case the card advantage from killing Thragtusk with Disciple of Bolas isn't enough, after I swing in here, I'm going to play Underworld Connections on a swamp and start drawing me some cards. So I swing in with my creatures without Summoning Sickness that actually have power, i.e. not Blood Artist. Gain myself 3 life, he loses 3 life. And I play my Underworld Connections on that swamp. Bam, bam, bam. This is a slight misplay. You should always tap colorless mana in front of colored mana if you don't have the mana to activate Vault of the Archangel, so I should have tapped Vault of the Archangel there instead of the Plains. I guess. But it doesn't really matter too much. I don't have any 1-mana white instants anyway. And I needed both the black mana I had up to cast Underworld Connections and still have that swamp untapped. And then I believe I passed turn feeling very, very happy. So he draws, trying to find an answer. I believe his graveyard is... No, he still has 4 cards in grave, so there might be some Seance targets in there. But his Thragtusk, I think, is in his graveyard for him to Seance. But he doesn't have Seance anymore because I O-ringed it, so yeah. He's not in a very good spot right now. At all. I believe he plays a Tristani here. That could be what happens. He's thinking. In the chat, he's going to say thinking in a second. I remember it. I'm prescient. There he is, thinking. I don't know if you can read it because the video quality is so poor. I did figure out a way. I found a new way to record these videos, so I'm going to increase the quality of the next videos I put out after Game 2 of this match. So you won't have to worry about this anymore. You'll be able to read the cards and everything. We're going to see an Overgrown Tomb tapped. Oh, yeah, he writes his something. I think it's Tristani. Uh, let's see. Moment of truth. Yeah, there it is. Tristani. Selesnya, whatever. And I believe he passes it back here. Selesnya's voice. Tristani Selesnya's voice. End of turn, I activate Underworld Connections with my 35 life. This deck surprised me. Even though the life production was not entirely this deck's own because of that whole Thragtusk Disciple of Bolas combo, this deck does gain you eventually a lot of life. What with the lifelink tokens and Vault of the Archangel and such. Um, Interestingly enough, I did draw my Mutilate a while ago, so right now I'm just looking for an opportunity for another Blood Artist or to get more creatures on board so I can create that game-ending life swing, maybe flash back that Lingering Souls that I've forgotten about by now. But right now I just try to create a large life differential. I do kind of a misplay here. I don't swing in with the Disciple because I think that I need it back to protect my Sorin, because he is sitting in a precarious 1 loyalty, even 2 after he produces a token. Of course, I didn't think through that when I produce a token, I will have a blocker, and his Arbor Elf won't be able to kill Sorin individually unless he somehow lays down a Gavony Township. So, slight misplay there. I should have swung in with the Disciple, but in the end, 2 damage turns out not to matter terribly much, because one of us wins before 2 damage becomes relevant. I will not reveal who as of yet. So that's it. I pass turn. The damage is done. Seen the needle on the damage done. And here, I think, is his proudest moment as a Junk Seance player. He lays down the dirtiest creatures you will have ever seen. Here it is. This was the turn I was warning you about. The 2 Thragtusk turn with Tristani on board for a whopping 16 life gain, which brings him up to 27 life. It's going to happen any minute now. I can't imagine he would actually be thinking this hard about it. He should have played it 5 hours ago. There it is. 1 Thragtusk and 2 Thragtusks. There we go. So yeah, he taps Arbor Elf, so he's tapped out completely to resolve his Thragtusks. So now, however, in doing so, he has sowed the seeds for his own demise because he has put 13 creatures on board, which means that after I draw off of Underworld Connections, and then I draw a Blood Artist, which means that after I lay this Godless Shrine, I play my Blood Artist, meaning that after I produce a token with Sorin and mutilate the board, the 13 creatures, there's actually only 11 on board now, but after I play the artist and then make a token, then there will be 13 creatures on board, which means that I will be able to mutilate for a total of 26 damage, which means I only have to get in for 1 point of damage here. As it turns out, I do better than that. I just swing in with all my vampire tokens. Here you see me doing the math. I'm like, oh, is this game? Is this game? And then I decide to go for it. He is tapped out. You know those green, white, black counter spells are the best in the format. So he doesn't even have access to those. On 0 of them because he's tapped out. So I swing in. I get in for 4 because he is scared of my vault. He doesn't want any of his precious tusks to die. So he takes it. Just take it, Nike. Just take it. Takes 4, and then I show him the mutilate here. Oh, first I make a token, so I don't end up looking like a fool. Actually, I think I still do win here, even without making that token, but I did it just to be sure. Actually, that's technically a misplay, because if he did find a way to counter it, I would like to be able to make a token after I wipe the board. Or if he finds a way to work around it, to not die after the mutilate resolved, it would be nice to be able to make a token. But fool that I am, I make a token before I mutilate. Here's the mutilate. I type in, I think this is game. Point out to him the cold, harsh truth that there is a whole bunch of loss of life being directed right at his head. Technically, from Blood Artist, it's not damage, it's loss of life, which is a neat circumvention to safe passage I've discovered. Or fog, or any kind of those effects. So here I'm telling him 13 creatures times 2 artists equals you're dead. 26 damage right to the dome. Plus 4 from the vampires is 30 damage in 1 turn. Remember, this is the turn immediately after he laid 2 Thragtusks with a Trostani on board. He gains 16 life, I knock him down by 30. That's a pretty wicked play in my book. So here he's calling GG, and that's it, guys. Thank you for listening, and I'll talk to you. I'll catch you later. Inferior Otaku, signing out.